In today's video, I'm going to beat the entirety of Cuphead without dashing once, and if you end up enjoying this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. So you might think that this is impossible because of this part in the tutorial where you have to jump then dash to get on the platform, but you don't actually need to complete the tutorial to get to Inqua Isle 1, you can just quit the map. As soon as I got out, I made sure to remove my dash button to make sure that I couldn't accidentally dash and fail the challenge. This first run and gun was actually quite challenging because I was not used to doing it without dashing, and there was one jump where I had to take damage to get to the other side, but after a few attempts I beat the first run and gun of this challenge. After that, I decided to go to the shop to buy the heart charm and the spread shot. Now I was gonna go fight the root pack, but I'm just gonna quickly go past this boss since even without dashing it's incredibly easy and I beat them on my first try. After cooking the vegetables, I made my way to fight Goopy. The first two phases of this fight are not too hard even without dashing, but his final phase caught me off guard and I died, but when I tried again I managed to beat him the second time round. After defeating Goopy, I then decided to go to the first mausoleum to get the first super art. Then I decided to go and fight Hildeberg, but since this is a plane level, I physically cannot dash, so I just made sure not to go in my small plane at any point of these plane levels. Next up on my list was Ribby and Croaks, and you don't need to dash at any point of this fight, so it was basically just a normal fight and I beat them on my first attempt. After getting rid of the knockoff Battletoads, I decided to do the second run and gun to get some more coins. This run and gun was much easier than the first one since it only took me a few attempts before I eventually beat it. With the coins that I had gotten from the run and gun, I decided to go to the shop to buy the lobber for later on. Now I was on my way to beat Cagney. This fight was similar to the Ribby and Croaks fight since I never need to dash during this fight anyway, and I beat them on my first attempt as well. After beating Cagney, I collected the coin behind the trees and went on to Inqua Isle 2. I chose to start with Baroness von Bonbon, and this fight was actually quite difficult, mainly because of some of her minions that were quite annoying to deal with without dashing, like the Jawbreaker and the Cupcake, but after a few deaths in her final phase, I ended up beating her. After defeating the final boss of Candy Crush, I decided I wanted to fight Jimmy next, but I forgot to grab the bomb shot, even though I didn't need it since I beat him on my first try. After taking down Jimmy's pyramid scheme, I decided to go to the carnival to fight Beppy the Clown. I initially thought that this fight was going to take a while, but luckily I beat him on my second attempt. After my brief visit to the carnival, I took flight yet again to fight Wally Warbles, who in my opinion is not very difficult, so I beat him on my first attempt. After turning Wally Warbles into a KFC menu, I stopped by the second mausoleum, then went on to fight Grim Matchsticks, where after dying a couple of times in his last phase, I made sure to take my time and after that, I beat him. Now before we move on to Inqua Isle 3, leave a like if you haven't done so already. Anyways, the first boss I decided to take on was Rumor Honeybottoms. This was actually quite difficult without dashing, and with lots of damage taken and 4 deaths, I finally beat this bee. After becoming the new leader of that hive, I decided to fight Captain Brinybeard. On my first attempt, I took some damage and stupidly died on his last phase, but luckily I redeemed myself by beating him on my next try. Once Captain Brinybeard's ship was wrecked, I stayed by the ocean and collected a secret coin before fighting Cala Maria. This fight was slightly harder without going into my small plane, and it took me a couple of attempts to beat her with only 1 HP remaining. After this fight, I was getting a little bit tired of the sea, so I decided to head back into the city to fight Dr. Cow. This boss is very difficult, don't get me wrong, but since I have quite the experience with him, I easily beat him on my first attempt. After putting Dr. Cow's robot in the scrapyard, I wanted to relax by going to the theater and fighting Sally's stage play. On my first attempt, everything was going perfectly until somehow I took 3 damage in quick succession and died in her final phase, which is quite hard without dashing. After another attempt, I hopped over to the shop to get the chaser to make the final phase a little easier, and then on my first attempt while using the chaser, I beat her. After quite a painful theater performance, I went to the final mausoleum of the game, which surprisingly took me 4 attempts to beat, but anyways, I then decided to pay a visit to my beloved German rat, Werner Werman. This fight was actually quite difficult to beat without dashing, especially with the second phase where I had to get lucky to make it to the final phase with a good amount of health, but after dying 4 times, I finally beat him. After getting rid of that dirty rat, I decided to take the train to fight the Phantom Express. This fight was quite hard and I made it to his final phase with 1 HP twice in a row, but on my third attempt I made it to his final phase with 2 HP this time and I beat him. After a long train ride, I made it to my final destination, the casino, in hopes to get back my soul that I gambled away. Before I could do that, I had to take on King Dice. This fight was pretty tricky because I started off by doing my regular strategy of going for Cigar first, but without dashing it was impossible to beat him without taking loads of damage. so I decided to fight the Tipsy Troop and then do my normal strategy from then on. I had to reset multiple times because I messed up some dice rolls, but eventually I managed to get to King Dice himself, where luckily I had 6 HP because his final phase is quite tricky without dashing, but I managed to beat him. Finally, after all this time, I made it to the Devil. The first phase of this fight was probably the hardest because of the goat attack and the spider attack, which are quite difficult to deal with without dashing. For the goat attack, I would stall in the air by using an EX move. After dying loads of times, I made it to his final phase, where I went down to 1 HP, but thankfully, I beat him. So, can you beat Cuphead without dashing? The answer is yes, and I did it with a total of 39 deaths. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because this video took me a while to make. And also, sorry for not uploading for such a long time. I couldn't really find the time to work on this video, and I will try to be more consistent in the future. But with all that said, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.